Hi, Tracy Baker here for Baker Gets Cooking, and today we are going to make a kale salad. So kale salad with cranberries and goat cheese with a raspberry vinaigrette. Now, kale is kind of a new hot food. It's considered a superfood. What makes it a superfood is that it's really high in antioxidants and anti-inflammatories and lots of micronutrients. It's high in vitamin A and vitamin K and vitamin C, and it has a decent amount of calcium in it as well, in addition to having tons of fiber. So it's really good for us, right? So it's pretty hot in the foodie circles these days, and I think it's delicious. Kale is somewhere between romaine lettuce and cabbage in terms of texture. Not in flavor, but in texture. So it's a little bit coarser than lettuce and a little less coarse than cabbage. So because it's more coarse than lettuce, it can stand up to an oil and vinegar dressing for a prolonged time. So this can be made ahead and actually served the next day or in a couple of days. And it doesn't get wilty and soggy like a lettuce salad would. So I think that's great. Another thing about kale is that it's really simple to grow. If you have a pot or a little bit of soil or a raised bed or a garden, throw the seeds in and it will grow. Another great thing about growing kale yourself is, number one, of course, you don't have to put any pesticides on it. The other thing is that you can pick it when it's nice and small like this, and it's really quite tender. And it tastes much less bitter than the kale that you can get in the grocery store. So the other thing that's great for my area, because I have a short growing season, is that it can tolerate a few degrees of frost and still continue to grow. So it can grow right into the fall for me. And if you live in an area of the country where it doesn't get very cold in the winter, you probably can grow kale all year round. Wouldn't that be great to just go out in the backyard and pick your supper? So I've got two different sizes of leaves here. One is a little bit larger than the other, and I'll turn it around, and I don't know if you can see, but it kind of has like a stem, and as they get bigger, the stem gets larger and it gets tough. So the larger leaves, I like to take the stems out. So I'll just show you how to do that. So if you turn it so that the stem is facing up, and then you just slice the leaf into two parts and just cut that stem right out. So then you end up with two halves and a stem that you just can throw away. The smaller tender leaves you can just leave whole. That's fine. The stem isn't tough yet, so it'll be fine. So then you just stack them on top of each other and kind of roll them into a cigar shape, and then you slice down in about every quarter of an inch, so that you have kind of these ribbons of kale. This is called, it's a fancy French term called chiffonade. It's not hard to do. So then you end up kind of with these little strips of kale. All right, so I've got about 10 to 12 cups of chiffonaded kale here. And I'm just gonna, the bowl is full, but we're gonna toss this with a vinaigrette dressing, and as it softens from the vinegar in the vinaigrette, the volume will decrease slightly. So we're gonna start first by making our raspberry vinaigrette. So in a bowl, combine 6 tablespoons of oil. So I like these little measuring cups. These ones are by OXO. So on the outside of the measure, it's quarter cup measurements, and then on the inside, it's tablespoons. So I like this. This makes my life easy. So 6 tablespoons of oil. You can use canola oil like I have here, or you can use olive oil, or you can use a combination of both. Anything that's kind of a flavorless oil is fine. And then the vinegar part, This is a red wine vinegar that's flavored with raspberry. And I'm going to need 1 tablespoon of that. Some lemon juice, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. And I'm just going to juice a half a lemon, and that's pretty close to a tablespoon. So the ratio of your vinaigrette needs to be 1/3 vinegar to 2/3 oil. So if you want to do this in a measuring cup, you can even kind of eyeball it. This is my awesome citrus press. I love it. It squeezes every bit of juice out of the lemon and keeps all the pits in that little bowl. Okay. Then, so that's our oil and vinegar, and then we need to add some flavorings to it. So I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of chopped green onion in there, and some garlic. It's my awesome frozen chopped garlic. So about a clove's worth of chopped garlic. And we're going to put some Dijon mustard, about a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. I'm just going to eyeball it. Dijon mustard is a great thing to put in your vinaigrettes because it contains something called lecithin. And lecithin binds the oil and vinegar together, so you have an oil and vinegar dressing that becomes emulsified, so it kind of becomes one instead of being separate. So the oil on the top, vinegar on the bottom. If you put some Dijon mustard in and you whisk it a bit, they become combined and they stay that way. And what else do I need? Let's see, oil, lemon juice, vinegar, Dijon, green onion, garlic. I'm going to put a little bit of salt in here. A little bit of salt, like a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. There we go. And then we need some sweetness. Now, instead of putting sugar in here, you could put sugar, you could put honey, you could put anything that's sweet. I'm going to use raspberry jam, and it gives a really nice raspberry punch. And the sweetness of the jam helps to balance the bitterness of the kale. So even those people who think they don't like kale will like this salad because there's a balance of flavors. So I'm going to put about 3 teaspoons of this. This is homemade raspberry jam. You put whatever raspberry jam you can find in it. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to put 3 teaspoons of raspberry jam in here. And you can make it as sweet as you want. You can put 6 teaspoons in if you want. So it's kind of up to you. If you like it really sweet, put more sugar in it. And I'm just going to whisk that up. Well, you know what? I should put a bit of pepper in here too. I like freshly ground black pepper. And this is my awesome pepper mill that I love. I believe it's Trudeau brand, and it's great. It grinds beautifully. It has nice weight. The mechanism is very smooth. It's a good product. We'll just toss that vinaigrette together, and then it's going to go right on top of the kale. Before I do anything else, we're going to put this vinaigrette on the kale, and we're going to let it sit and wilt a little bit. It doesn't get super soggy, it just kind of softens it. So that's what I'm going to do. Just dump it all on. It looks like it's a lot, but it'll be good. And then I'm just going to toss it together. I think I can do it without spilling. We'll see. I tend to be a little bit messy, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm just going to let that sit in the fridge for a little while. You know, it can sit as little as half an hour or as long as 2 or 3 hours. While our kale is sitting with the vinaigrette, we're going to kind of assemble the rest of the ingredients. So I have a mixture of sesame seeds and sunflower seeds and slivered almonds, and they're all natural. They're not salted or anything. They're just natural, and toasting them just kind of brings out a more complex depth of flavor and makes the salad taste really nutty and delicious. So You need to toast that and let them cool before you add any of the ingredients to the salad. Then we have about a third of cup of dried cranberries. These are craisin cranberries. I like to put the craisins in here because they're shelf stable. I have them in my pantry all the time, and you can just toss them in. But you can also substitute other fruit. So I've made this salad with apples, or if you have a nice crispy pear, or if you have some firm red grapes, they all work well. I would use things that stand up to the vinaigrette. So fruit that has, that's a harder fruit, not something that's soft like strawberries or raspberries. I wouldn't use those. But things like apples and pears and grapes will be fine. Perfectly fine in this. And they taste awesome. And then we have some goat cheese. This is goat's milk cheese, President's Choice brand. It's nice and creamy and a little bit tangy. You could, if you wanted to, you could use feta. Just be careful about the salt content in feta. It's quite a salty cheese, so you need to kind of be careful how much you put in, or else it'll be too salty. If you wanted to, you could put Swiss cheese in here, grated Swiss, you know, whatever works. Whatever cheese your family likes. My salad's been sitting in the fridge with the vinaigrette on top for about an hour or so, and I'm just going to add the rest of the ingredients. And you'll notice that it's reduced in volume a little bit. It's a little bit wilted. It's softer, and that's exactly what you want. So we're just going to put all of those nuts right on top, and it's a lot of nuts. The ratio of nuts to kale is quite high, so you get lots of nutty flavors in this. And then my cranberries. And I like to just leave my goat cheese off until I serve it, and then I pass it around and let people put on how much they want. Some people don't like goat cheese or prefer to have a non-dairy salad, so I just let the individual person put it on. So that looks beautiful. And I'm just going to plate up a little bit here for me to taste. And I like some cheese on top of mine. This is actually fairly reasonable serving of protein too. So you have the protein of the cheese and the nuts and the kale. So together, you know what, it's not so bad. Okay, let's give it a try here. It has such a nice balance of sweetness from the raspberry jam and the saltiness of the cheese and the little bit of a bitter undertone of the kale, and then a sweet tart kind of hit from the cranberries. It's awesome. It will keep for a couple of days in your fridge for sure. It goes well with any grilled meat. We're having it with steak tonight. I think it's a terrific salad, and it's so good for you and super healthy, and my family really likes it, and I hope yours will too. So hope this works for you. You can find the recipe on my blog. The link will be below my video. Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe and comment, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.